Hi, and welcome to the walkthrough of my Mega Man Maker level. I'll be going through the designs I had in mind when creating this level. So there's two things I want to check at the very beginning. I want to make sure the player knows to double jump, and then I want to make sure they know how to use the only weapon they have, which is the top spin. So there's fans down here that force the player to be in the air, because the top spin requires you to be in the air. And then their only option is to destroy those blocks. Now for this part, it's just a safe introduction to the fact that the player can land on enemies to hurt them. And also these projectiles look dangerous, but the top spin is immune to these projectiles. So the player is safe right here. And then the second floor is just crossing these hazards using the top spin, using what the player learned right before. And then this third floor is a mixture of crossing these enemies and dodging these projectiles. And then finally, a more complicated approach where you need to bounce across these enemies while avoiding these chains that are going to try and drop down on you. For this teleporter area, there's a lot of different ways the player can get all the way up through these, but I took a bit of a shortcut by bouncing off that guy right there. Right here I added these two magnets to pull the player to the right off of these platforms so that they don't encounter a cheap death by being pulled off the edge of the screen, because I felt that was a little unfair. And then right here I have this conveyor with a magnet to have enough power to pull the player harder than they can run, so they're first forced to use their dash to get across, because I want them to know about the dash for this next segment. So you see right here there are these new platforms that disappear from left to right as you touch them, so the player has the option to dash across, but if they don't notice at first, they drop safely, and then on the second introduction, if they drop again, they have the option of bouncing off of these enemies with the top spin. And then here the player is introduced to an enemy moving across these platforms as well, but the player also knows that they can bounce across them if they need to. And then for this final spot right here, it's a long stretch of platform. The player can't see the edge, but they see there are these saw blade enemies again. So they could take the risk and try and dash across, or they could utilize their top spin to safely travel the whole thing without ever causing the platform to disappear. And then for this boss level, I wanted to incorporate the elements of the level, so I included the saw blade enemies, which are a threat on the floor, but they're also useful for maintaining your top spin as you just keep bouncing off of them. And then the player also has the option of these teleporters to safely get back and forth across the level. And then the player has to continue to bounce if they don't want to take any damage before the level ends. That was my level. I hope you enjoyed it.